What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. If you saw my previous video, I said that I would be making an analyzation video on every The Amazing Digital Circus episode. I realized I didn't want to, as I said in my community post. If you saw, I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't. The reason being is because I got bored of it really fast, realizing that that's just not what I wanted to do for content, and I want to do different style of content, like making documentary series and commentary videos on horror games, uh, shows, movies, and um, ARGs, and overall documentaries on different type of stuff. And The Amazing Digital Circus is just a series that I slowly lost interest for, as the series was basically finished once I made the first episode, and it got really boring really fast because, well, I started really late. So I apologize for that, but to make up for it, me and my cousin will be talking about the full show all together, along with our opinions on the ending, because we did see the ending before YouTube release. And yeah, let's get straight into the video.
All right, so the first thing about the Amazing Digital Circus, which is very important to know, is the ending is the best it could have been.
I would say it could
But
have been a better ending. I wasn't too satisfied with it, mainly because I did have some questions unanswered. For example, how the characters even got in there in the first place, which people are theorizing that it was because of a VR headset doing a brain scan, which they did say it was a brain scan in the show itself, but that doesn't fully explain how the characters still got there.
the issue with the ending is they don't do much that really is interesting. It's just kind of your classic, well, someone died and but they did the best they could and now everything's good now. Which is kind of what the whole story was, I guess, leading up to, but it's just nothing crazy interesting. It could have been better, but because of the themes of the story, they couldn't have really done much more with it.
Me personally, what got me so into the series was when I first watched the first episode, I didn't really think much of it until I started seeing the theories on it, and I realized just how much imagery and stuff there was in the background. And I was like, holy crap, this is such an interesting series because of how much you can really theorize on and see all the imagery and stuff. And then once I watched the ending, I was like, I was really confused, and it felt really lackluster compared to most of the theories I was watching that made the show, which is what made the show interesting for me in the first place. Along with that, during the entire final episode, I was confused for a lot of it because I didn't really understand mainly what was going on that much. For example, the scene where Jax and Pomni were like the for example, the scene where Pomni hugged Jax right before his death scene. Well, I guess not necessarily death scene, but his abstraction scene. That I was confused because we just see Jax becoming an orb of light, basically, and then we cut straight to, I forget really what it was, but we cut to, I guess, Jax still in his abstraction form, which I only realized later on in the episode that makes more sense, but it was kind of, I feel like, poorly put together because I couldn't understand it that much, but maybe that's just me personally. Maybe other people weren't confused, so I wouldn't blame the show writers for that. I would more blame myself for not understanding, but yeah, that I wasn't too satisfied with that part, but that's me personally.
I think the Kane arc was done decently. We were lied to because I think apparently there was a tweet where the Kane actor said that he wasn't coming back, but then he was. So I don't know what
What
we're
confused me
talking
about
about.
Kane was that in episode 8, we were told that apparently Kane was killed. But Kinger did say he only thinks he killed Kane. He wasn't completely sure of it. But it was confusing that we just see Kane completely disappear and magically just come back in episode 9 with no explanation of really what happened.
Yeah.
Because out of nowhere, we just cut to a scene where he's just there in the circus. The first scene isn't with Kane in the void, to what I can remember. Maybe the first scene
Yeah,
of him was in the
the
void. I
first
don't
scene
remember.
is he's looking at them in the circus, and
Yeah,
then the next scene is,
in the void.
yeah,
Which is
like a
really confusing.
flashback.
Like, it would have made more sense if the first scene of Kane was with him in the void, because that would show, like, maybe there was, like, the current version of him deleted and an old version of him now reborn into the void, and now he has to make his way back to the circus. But no, it's just Kane in the circus. So no explanation as to what happened to Kane. So, like, it's confusing as to understand, what did Kinger even do to Kane then to make Kane disappear?
Well, he was deleted by the system.
But he apparently wasn't, because he still
Well,
had all of his
it was a
memories.
safety miss. When you delete something, you have to also take it out of you have to empty your recycling bin too. It's not just immediately gone.
Fair enough.
So Kane would have still existed,
It's
but
still weird though, because, like, even though Kane's deleted it, like, he still has all his memories. So, like, it wasn't a current. So we didn't see, like, an old reborn version of himself, because he still has all of his memories. So, like, what exactly happened to Kane is the confusing part.
yeah, I think he was just thrown into the void, which would be more of like a recycling bin, which caused him to have to, like, just like how he broke out of that little box he was in, he had to break out of the void too, or his recycling bin or whatever. When they trapped him in the scene, I think it's episode 8 when they trapped him.
I'm gonna go back to the Jax thing. It was pretty saddening for me to see Jax being abstracted, but it didn't make sense the more I thought about it. Because Jax honestly was one of my more favorite characters, and I was going like, why? No! So it was pretty sad for me, at least. I don't know about my cousin, but it was pretty sad for me. I do understand why he's abstracted though, because that's like that was being hinted at basically the entire show that he was gonna abstract at some point. It was nice to see though that he did seem to be more relaxed than other abstracted characters though. Like, he seemed a bit more happy, I guess.
Well, he was only happier because they had to work together to give him a place where he would stay calm.
Which, it, like, for me personally, I'm still wondering if abstracted characters can come back from abstraction, because if Jax didn't start freaking out when Pomni hugged him, would Jax have potentially been able to unabstract?
Maybe,
A theory
but
that I have going is that maybe because Pomni couldn't unabstract Jax when she first tried, maybe they just had the idea that they just couldn't, so they didn't care enough to try. But it still makes me wonder, if they did try again, would they be able to unabstract Jax?
I think them not unabstracting him saves them from why I think most people hate murder drones. If you like murder drones, that's fair. I used to. But the fact that they killed off a character and then brought them back from the dead ruined the show for many people, including me.
One of the questions that did go answered, though, which was important to the story, was Jax's backstory, because it would explain why he acts the way he acts, which people were theorizing that it was because of the egg theory, which is, to what I can remember, where where, like, a person might be trans, but they're having trouble coming out of their shell, which I don't know. My cousin can explain that a lot more than me. I don't really know much about that stuff.
Basically, eggs are trans people, but they don't know that they're trans yet because they just haven't, I don't know, they don't have like the life experience to figure out that, oh, hey, yeah, I'm like these people too.
People are theorizing that Jax was trans and he was just having trouble realizing that he was trans, which was proven to be completely false with the fact that it was just Jax's backstory, which I honestly can't remember actually too much of it now I think about it. Maybe he was a trans person. I don't know. I can't
Well, I would
remember.
argue it's not confirmed, but it's also not denied. It's just not really covered.
Yeah. What we do know, I think, is that that it was his dad. I think, which is what made him act the way he does, because he was trying to prove to his dad he was, I guess, worth something. If I can
No, it
remember
was his mother.
correctly.
It was his mother. His mother was like constantly harassing him and saying that he wasn't good enough in any category.
Which is something that we do see in the previous episodes where Jax pushes Pomni and he looks at his hand, which is what we then see again in the final episode where we see the reason why Jax is looking at his hand because he pushed his mother, which I guess his mother
Could have
died
killed
from
her.
that, is what I was getting at. I don't really know.
I don't. He thought that he killed her, but I'm pretty sure in the ending it says that they're fine.
Anyways, that's going to be it for the video. There's really not much else to talk about. So if you enjoyed the video, cool. See ya.